All right, let's see if I was wrong. So this sucks. Is we're gonna follow this slow ass frickin' horse guy forever, but somebody else going left. Yeah, we'll call the video the good old days. That's what I was thinking to myself this morning. Here's the butt markers. Here's the cyclists that love to get killed on the road, and if you injure them, you're going to be the guy in a lot of trouble. That's for damn sure. So now he's going to go across the bridge, which will be a little bit more challenging because this is a narrow bridge, and without having a real clear path of the Saturday morning cyclist, this guy here is paranoid as hell about it. So he's not going to do anything. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh, so we must have a little thing going right now on the cyclists. Yeah, this time of year they're everywhere. So yeah, the good old days. Are the good old days really the good old days? You know what I mean? Because when you're living back then, was your day that great? But we all reminisce on the good old days. But what I was thinking to myself this morning was, boy, oh boy, how life has changed right in front of my own eyes, being that I was such a diligent father that got up on a religious basis on the weekends to take care of my daughter and the wife. And I was thinking this morning how I used to get up early in the morning and go up to town. I would get out of bed about 7 and hit the road by 7:30 and go up to town and go get the wife and Julia breakfast. And I always looked forward to doing that. I really enjoyed that. Even when I had to work on the weekends, meaning, my voice is terrible. Meaning, so they're having a bicycle event. I can already tell these are people that all met up somewhere. You ride to point A, you ride to point B, what's your time, blah, 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 dee-dee-dee-dee, doo-doo-doo-da. So there you go. Yep, now this guy's turning. Man, I tell you what, there's a lot going on this morning on this little road. Yep. So anyways, so even if I had to go to work, so it meant I drove all the way up to town, came all the way back home. Before you knew it, it's 9 o'clock. Yep, there's an event. That's what it is. Now, this horse guy, don't go left. Don't go left. Go straight. Stay straight. He's probably going up to the other equestrian park that's further up. This is a better way for me to get where I'm going. I never even knew about it until Joe showed me one day. It's incredible how I never knew this was a better way to get over to the areas that we service and maintain. And it was just one day Joe took this turn. I'm like, where are you going? He's like, you don't know this way? I'm like, hell no. So I'm like, oh, this is a hell of a lot better way, even though the road is so beat up. It sucks. So yeah, so it's in the good old days. So back in the day when Julia was younger and in school, I used to go to town, get breakfast, bring it home, and I did that usually Saturday and Sunday mornings. Now, we used to go to church all the time. Back from about 2009 to about 2017, we attended, or 2018, we attended a church right down the street from me, across from that Little Rock Motel. And it's Episcopal church, even though I don't really like the Episcopal church, but I went because I wanted to support my wife and support my daughter to learn about God and the Bible and blah, blah, blah. I think everybody should always have an open mind. Let your kid understand what the Bible is and who God is. Now, whether they continue on your vision is highly up to them, but at least you should expose it to them. But some people are like, nah, screw that. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's your life. Live your own life. I don't pay your way. You don't pay my way. I get it. So we always used to go to church every Sunday, and I was like, we were very involved in that church. My wife became the senior ward eventually. I used to do a lot of the readings. I used to do a lot of the maintenance around the church. I mean, so we were very, very connected to that church, and then we just kind of had the church had a lot of changes of the ministers that come and go, and then the politics starts to play into church, and then sadly my wife lost her father, and I don't know, that was a pretty shaky time for my wife, witnessing her father pass from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. That was a long drawn out death sentence, not as long as some people, but in 2017 of August, my father-in-law went to hospital, and they didn't first catch it. It wasn't until like the second time he went in that they caught that stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So from August until December 29th, my father-in-law went through hell, just living hell in our reality. So very bad, challenging times back in 2017. So whole point of that is that kind of just, I don't know, something happened to my wife's views, so we just kind of slowly disappeared from that church. And then for me, I like the Church of Christ. I love that church down there in Gray, Tennessee, right across from my mother-in-law's house. I haven't been there now in over a year. I've been there in over a year now. We haven't been down there. I've been down to Tennessee now in over a year, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on that. Did we go down last Memorial Day weekend last year? I can't remember. Maybe. We may have. So I'd be wrong. Maybe a year then I was there. So for the good old days, so then, not only getting up with the enjoyment of taking care of my daughter and my wife, getting them breakfast, that was always a key thing. We had breakfast and get the day going. But then it was also, I had Julia involved in sports, and soccer was one of the first sports that she got involved in, which meant that this time of year you're out running around with your kid, revolving your weekend around the sports of the soccer games. And so you have your spring soccer, and you have your summer soccer, you have your fall soccer, you even have winter soccer. But for Julia, she was more or less, for the most part, in spring and fall soccer with the school schedule. So that was, 2 times a week, at least 2 times a week there was practice, and 1 day of the week of the game, and blah, 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 blah. But then I got involved in basketball. And then through that, I never was really a big soccer player, but being I played basketball, I loved basketball, then I got involved in being an assistant coach, which then opened the door up the next year of me being my own coach. So then I got very involved for 8 seasons of coaching youth girls basketball, which was all about Julia. Versus there are some people who just love to coach youth sports, and whether they have a kid or the kids are growing up, they continue to do it. I mean, I witnessed that during the 8 years of me coaching. There are a lot of people that didn't have kids anymore, they'd all grown up, and they just love coaching, and it was more about them, they just enjoyed coaching. It's a huge commitment, it's a responsibility, and unless you if you really want to be the winning team, you got to put a lot into it. You yourself as a coach, and really the biggest thing is who you have playing for you. But the point is, so then Julia went to the basketball side. So now for the fall and early winter months, is all about basketball. And me coaching, we used to have I think 2 practices a week, and then a game on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. And sometimes it interfered with church, but we made it all work. And so that was the good old days. For me as the parent, I had an activity to do with my kid, and I had an activity to coach other young girls, and I had interaction with the parents, and I had interaction with the other coaches and the referees. So it was a lot of good social interaction. So I was very busy back years ago with being really more about interacting with Julia and the parents and the coaches, and just the activities. And of course she had school commitments, and she did play music for a while, And then in the summer, I decided to put her in summer basketball camp. I had her in summer soccer camp. I had her in summer training, actually training on how to be faster, more agility. So I had her always in summertime attending events in the summer to keep her active in the summer months. And so that, and some of these events were all-day events that would be 1 week or 2 weeks. One was the basketball camp that I would take her, and I would stay there the whole day because I had Joe working for me, and he could help run the business. And so I would, for the most part, some days I'd have to disappear. Mostly, I would be there the whole day watching her play and learn how to be a better basketball player with mostly young boys. But it was a lot of fun because the one older gentleman, a former professional basketball player, he just loved Julia and he really liked me. And then he would actually get me involved in being the referee or even being up there, maybe take some of the kids aside and help teach them, do some skills. So it was very interactive for me as well. So that was a lot of fun for me as a parent. And Julia was excited because her father is right there next to her. And she had the confidence because I'm there that make sure ain't nobody going to get out of hand there, being the boys that don't always like the girls so much at a young age, even though the coach was always on Julia's side, always gave her favoritism and always showed the boys that this girl here can beat you. So it was great times. That really was a lot of fun. And then you go to 2017, the year my father-in-law passed. There was a whole other variable in there of my activities. Was my daughter went and rode horses every Saturday. And so she started doing that like in 2013, I think. I think it was 2012 or 13. So every weekend, it would be either I or my wife taking her to horseback riding lessons. And she even did that in the middle of the week. So she was riding somebody else's horse for the first like 4 or 5 years. We would just use the boarding facility where we keep Prancer. We'd use their horses. And so Julia would ride like once or twice in the week and once in the weekend. And she'd be in group lessons, so it'd be less money. But that was a great time for me because there were other parents there, the fathers, the mothers, that would be then waiting around. It didn't make any sense to drop off Julia. It was usually only like a 30 or 45 minute lesson. So it wasn't worth dropping her off, leaving, and then coming back to get her. So I would just hang out there at the barn. And over time, I developed the greatest relationships with other parents and fathers that became friendships, and we just all used to hang around, laugh, and most of them were all on the same page that we are, that many of are the same thought process and liking of people that follow me. We just had the same views and ideas and morals, and more probably conservative-minded person over liberal-minded people. I'm sure people can see very quickly which direction I am usually. Got my glasses on just because it saves your cataracts as you get older in life. So anyways, so now, for me, if you look at my schedule, and this is where I'd honestly say, back in the day, I never had a desire to do social media because I had a social media. I had a very strong interaction in my activities with my daughter and with all the activities that she intertwined with that brought other people that I know and interacted as well. So I had a pretty heavy schedule, being that between horseback riding, taking my kid to there, and then soccer practice and soccer games, horseback riding and basketball practice and basketball games, horseback riding and summer camps, and then we would break away to go see Popcorn for a week. Back then, we'd only be somewhere maybe like a week. We wouldn't be away for a long time. The longer time started coming more later on. So, and then, of course, I had to run my company and I had to maintain my property and blah, blah, blah. But now, as Julia's evolving, getting older, now she's getting at the age where she can drive a car. And that all kind of came down through the pandemic of 2020, where now she was turning 16 years old and she got a learner's permit, and now I have it on my channel. of her learning how to drive a stick shift car, her driving the Honda Civic Type R, her driving the Ford Mustang Bullitt. I have all that video on my channel, because it wasn't until, I guess, January or February 2020, I started Ice HTV, this channel, then I started creating content of all about the cars and trucks and motorcycles and Julia. So in 2020, that was kind of then where Julia was evolving and getting older and becoming more self-sufficient, because eventually, when she got her driver's license, she didn't need me to drive her or pick her up from school, because that's a whole other variable I forgot to mention. I used to go pick up my daughter from school every day. Even though she could have taken a bus home, I used to go out of my way every day to be at the elementary school, be at the middle school, to be at the high school, and I would be there to pick her up. So that was usually me having to cut out of working and be at the elementary school by 3:30. I had to be at the middle school by like at 4 o'clock. Had to be at the high school like at 4:30. So that really put a time frame on me every day of my life of getting up and getting around. And worst case, if I couldn't get to her, then she just have to ride the bus to get home. But for the most part, I was always there to pick her up. So I'd be there in my different car. And then a lot of her friends at the schools, middle school, high school, they noticed how her dad always pulled up like in a different car all the time. So she used to get a lot of attention in the school that her dad has all these badass looking cars pulling up in front of the school. So she kind of got to be known as the Ice Girl just through that. So then as time progresses and the COVID things relax and kids can go back to school, now Julia is self-sufficient and she can now drive to school. And she can now drive to the horse. So that starts changing a lot of my time. And by that time, this is her senior year, I have made the decision I'm no longer going to coach because of all the guidelines for COVID, having to wear a mask, and with my GERD, and me coughing and hacking, then my hearing's very, very bad. My GERD was so bad back in 2021, that I did not go to the GT500 Charlotte racetrack. I had a free ticket, meaning I think all I had to pay for was the hotel, but I had the ticket. I was scheduled to go to the big event in 2021. They delayed it a year, so it's 2021 if I remember right, to go to that GT500 driving school event where you get to drive their GT500 around the Charlotte racetrack, drag track, a whole day's worth of, like 2 or 3 day event in schooling, but a big shebang, because I bought a GT500. Ford partnered up with that racing school, teaching school, to give you the day of fun. But my coughing and hacking was so bad and so embarrassing that I decided not to go, because I really felt that people would think I still have COVID. So it was embarrassing. So I really had to cancel, because I knew if I was in class and I started coughing and hacking, or if I was in the car with the instructor and I started coughing and hacking, I know these people would be thinking, Jesus Christ, man, this guy has come to this event, he's got COVID, and he's going to get us all sick. So I canceled. I didn't do it. Wow. Yeah, would that have been a hell of an event? Hell yeah, that'd have been a great time, great event. But oh well, such is life, everybody. But that's a hard event. I know people that went there, and I talked to them on a personal basis. And I have video. I do have video from one guy that I used to be very heavily in the Ford Mustang forum. And he's a really good guy, and he has his own YouTube channel. He does a great job of videoing his racing skills. He's a FedEx pilot, and I'm trying to think of the name of that guy's YouTube channel. I used to promote it every now and then on my channel, but the guy is out of, I think, Texas, and he's an incredible. I guarantee he's every bit of close to my age. He's got a beautiful shop. He's got some older Mustangs. and he's all Ford, and he goes around the country racing his GT500. And he did a ton of video, real video. I mean, he has all the cameras set up on the car, and on, it's it's all professional. And somebody's, I don't know if somebody has a drone that follows him around the racetrack, that videos him. So it's great stuff. Very detailed, really good guy. You know what? And I don't think his channel ever got huge. I mean, he had a decent amount of subscribers, but I don't think he ever hit it. So here's a guy cut me off. Doesn't end. So the whole point of that is, I do know about that school. I've seen video of people going there, and you're going to break a sweat. You're going to work your ass off, twisting and turning a car, taking the steering wheel, and turning it, and that's a lot of skill. That takes a lot out of you until you do it. You don't get it till you do it. Anybody that's ever done it, they'd raise their hand and go, "Yeah, that was a workout. That was not easy." So here we are, going today. I just figured I'd make more conversation. That's just who I am. I never can shut the hell up. I just keep it going. If I think I've got something to talk to you about, this guy here, he went from being a left-hand lane to the right-hand lane. What the hell is this guy doing? So, I just figured I'd keep the conversation going, and I do have stories always to share with you that I think are entertaining, and that's what I do. I have an entertaining story. Here's some information. Honda just announced they have built 500 million motorcycles. Wow. Did you hear that? Honda has just announced they have hit the 500 million milestone of building motorcycles since 1949, I think. I'm trying to think about what year they built that factory in Ohio. I think that was in the late 60s or early 1970s, where they were building dirt bikes out of Ohio. So isn't that something? And geez, do I have some Hondas? Yeah. For what? For why? I get it.